Want to learn how to become a millionaire in 4 simple steps? That's what I'm going to show you today. It is very easy. All you have to do is set this up and you'll be good to go. But make sure you take action on this video. This is probably one of the most important videos you'll ever watch in your life. So make sure you pay attention and actually take the steps that I will discuss in this video for you today. Before I get started, I do want to share some of our amazing referral links. This is free $10 for you to get started with MN Finance. It's a really cool brokerage where you can buy fractional shares of any company you want, so you don't have to actually buy the full share. That way you can easily diversify between a lot of different companies. With Robinhood, my all-time favorite brokerage, you get a free stock if you sign up using the link that I have in the description. Also, Acorns, a really cool app that allows you to invest spare change, and you get $5 to get started. It's very easy to use and it basically automates your investing. And then we have Webull. You'll get absolutely 2 free stocks as soon as you sign up and deposit $100. That's the minimum requirement. But then after you deposit that amount, you'll get your 2 free stocks, and you can choose to sell them and then withdraw the $100 that you deposited plus the 2 free stocks in dollar value. And then we also have $50 of free spending money as long as you sign up for this secure credit card that will improve your credit score, and it'll get you 1 to 2% cash back on every single purchase. You can just use the $50 and then cancel the card if you like. All of these referral links are in the description. Alright, so building wealth is very, very simple. The only thing that makes it very difficult is that it's difficult to keep up with following specific rules that you need to follow. But in terms of creating wealth, the logic behind it is very simple. This is what you have to do. So first, you have to set up an emergency fund. This is your highest priority. If you do not have an emergency fund, this should be your only focus. Don't focus on anything else besides gathering enough money for your emergency fund. So what is an emergency fund? An emergency fund is a fund that you can access anytime without having to liquidate any assets. It's ready available cash. It can be in a checking account, savings account, anything you want, but it has to be accessible. You can even keep this in cash if you like, but it has to be 6 months of expenses only. You should not keep more than 6 months of living expenses in an emergency fund, because if you do, that's robbing you of return on investments that you can get with that extra money. Having 6 months of living expenses in an emergency fund is going to provide you the safety, emotional well-being that you need in order to focus on creating wealth. So if you do not have at least 6 months of living expenses, make sure you accumulate that and put it in a checking account or savings account. Alright, so once you have step 1 done, you can check that off. You can also make this list if you want, that way you can check these off. So after you have your emergency fund, then you're gonna go to step 2, which is living expenses. So we all have normal day-to-day expenses that we need to make in order to pretty much stay alive. We all need to buy food. We all need to pay rent. We all need to pay utilities. It's basic necessities that you need in order to have a good life. So you can allocate a certain percentage of your income towards living expenses. This is just a recommendation. It doesn't have to be 60%, but I'm just doing this as an example. So create a certain percentage that you feel comfortable having for living expenses. You can always change these numbers, but try to stick to a certain percentage that you'll be able to stick to. So basically, once you get your income, have a separate checking account where you just have 60% of that income going towards living expenses. So you'll have a debit card or credit card that you'll use just for those living expenses, and only have that cash available for those living expenses, nothing else in that account. This will pretty much assure you that you only use that 60% for living expenses, nothing more than that. If you don't use up all of it, that's fine, but stick to that 60% or whatever percentage allocation you want to pick. This is very important, and the most important thing out of all of this is that you have to make sure it's automated. You have to literally go talk to your banker, say, I want to open a checking account or some sort of account where I can put 60% of my income to that account. And then he can go ahead and do that, and then you can have access to that account only for living expenses. And then once you have the 60% of your income going towards living expenses, you can check that off. So now let's talk about the third thing that you need to do with your money: investing. So I recommend 30% investing. That's a little bit more than normal. Most people recommend you to invest 20%, but 30% will ensure you to create that long-term wealth and reaching millionaire status for sure, and faster as well. But you can always change these numbers. The most important thing is to stick to a plan. You need to tell your money where to go, not for it just to be a surprise. So 30% goes towards investing. So this has to be automatic as well. You can't depend on you making this percentage allocations to different areas. You have to make sure this is automatic. The only way that you're going to stick to this is if it's automatic. If it's not automated, you're not going to follow through. It's very hard for us to stick to a plan, but by automating, the automation is not going to fail. The computers are not going to fail. So make sure you do that. You have to make sure you automate this. If I get one point across to you, is you need to automate everything: your living expenses, your investing, and we'll talk about fund money. So investing, you need to make sure you're sticking to a proved investing strategy, something that has worked over time for millions and millions of people. You can't be investing in risky things like cannabis, crypto, nothing like that. Stick to safety and growth. Sure, you can play around a little bit, but I wouldn't recommend you to do that too much. Stick to good growth companies like Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Google. Established companies like that who have been in the market for a long time. Triple M, FRT, any sort of company that has been established, that has a strong balance sheet, strong fundamentals, all sorts of things like that that are good and reliable. And if you want to learn more about making investment decisions, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel where I talk a lot about that. So just pay attention to that and you'll be pretty much good to go. But basically, you can use M1 Finance, Robinhood, your 401k, Roth IRA, any sort of investment plan, but just make sure 30% of your money is going into that and being invested for you automatically. That is the key takeaway. So now for number 4, this is fund money. Obviously, you don't want to just pay for living expenses and investing and keep your emergency fund. That's going to be very boring, and it might even lead you to depression or something like that. Obviously, the reason why we work, why we create an income, why we want money is to basically have fun. That is the most important thing, and it's good to have fun. It's not a bad thing. That's kind of the simple joy of life. So allocate a certain percentage for this. So in this example, I'm doing 10%. That's a good plan. It's not too little, but it's still like a good amount. And this can change. It all depends on you and your lifestyle, but 10% is decent enough for me. And you want to actually put this in a separate account as well. So like I said, talk to your banker, say, I want a different account where I'm going to put 10% of my income going there automatically. Can you set that up for me? And banks allow you to do this. I'm not sure about other like financial institutions that you might have, but just ask. But this is essential. You need to separate this because let's say you're spending on something for fun, right? You don't want to spend more than that 10%. So if you have your living expenses mixed up with your investing money, with your fund money, you might accidentally use more fund money than you had allocated. And this is because it's all mixed around. If you only have fund money in that account and you can only spend that amount for fund money, there's no way that you're gonna go over. So make sure you have a separate account for fund money and stick to it. You can only use that 10% for fund money in that account. Once you have nothing in there, then you can't have any more fun. That's basically what you have to do. So stick to these 4 pillars of creating wealth. And the most important thing, like I was saying, is automate this. If you don't automate this, you're not gonna do it. Listen to me. You have to automate this. Find a way to automate every single thing. Your emergency fund is gonna stay in place. Your living expenses have to be automated to a different account. Your investing has to be taken out of your checking account where you receive your income. The 30% has to be taken out automatically. And you can set this up. It's very easy. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. Your fund money has to be separated as well, the 10%. You can't have it mixed up. And just simply do it. Don't spend a lot of time thinking about this. Just go and ask and figure out how to do this, because you have to. And I have a $1,000 per month income example just for you to reference, but this is all very simple and should be very easy to follow. So yeah, I hope that this message brings value to you. Creating wealth is something very simple. It's just that people don't do it because they get into debt, they have financial issues. But if you simply stick to this plan that I'm outlining for you, and you automate it like I'm saying, that you're not gonna have any issues. Just stay away from bad financial decisions and stick to this plan, and you should be good to go. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's very simple. Just set it up, automate it, and forget about it. So yeah, I hope that this message brought value to you. Also, if it seems too difficult to stick to 60% living expenses, 30% investing, and 10% fun, you can always change this around to your liking. But the order there should be a priority. So living expenses should be number 1, number 2 should be investing, and number 3 should be fund money. So you should always allocate more towards living expenses. I mean, not necessarily, but I'm assuming that's going to be the biggest one. And then second has to be investing, and third has to be the fund money. And you don't have to stick to this percentages like I was saying. If it seems too difficult, the most important thing is just stick to a plan. So whether it's 50, 40, 30, 20, whatever you pick on each category, just make sure you stick to it, because if you're able to stick to it, that means that you are actually following a plan that will eventually lead to long-term wealth. All you have to do is keep on doing it every single month, and you can change these numbers around. But the most important thing is sticking to a plan. If you're able to stick to a plan, then you're going to be able to stick to creating long-term wealth. This is the key difference between people who will succeed financially versus those who will not. It's just simply following a successful plan, creating a plan, creating goals and sticking to them, and creating smart goals basically that are specific. They have a specific time frame, and you have sub goals or mini goals that align towards reaching that big goal that you have. So as long as you follow these strategies, follow these 4 pillars of wealth, then I have no doubt that you will achieve financial freedom, as well as create, basically become a millionaire in your lifetime. And this is something that should be very important to you, because there's a lot of problems that come with not having sufficient financial resources. A lot of crime comes from not having money. So this is something very important, and it's something beneficial for you and your family. It's basically selfish not to live to your fullest potential. Alright, thank you all so much, subscribers, for joining me in today's video. Like I was saying, I hope that this video brought value to you and opened you into what you need to do in order to create wealth. Like I said, don't just learn this, take action. That is the most important thing. Make sure you automate things. It's very, very important. Alright, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace. One thing that I did forgot to mention is that, for example, you don't necessarily have to do 60% living expenses, 30% investing, 10% fund money. Obviously, if you can do more that is more beneficial to you, then you should. Like, for example, I don't allocate 60% for living expenses. I only have 30% going towards living expenses. And that's just a fortunate position that I am in. But obviously, the less you can spend on living expenses and the less on fund money, the better, because you have more to invest. So I'm personally doing 30% going towards living expenses, and I'm doing 60% going towards investing. So that brings me up to 90%. And then I do have that 10% going towards fund money. So that's how I manage my money, but obviously it depends on the person. But I'm just saying 60 going to living, 30% investing, 10% fund money is a good way to start. And if you just stick to this, you'll be good to go.